and KickNKnowledge. I also want to thank Dover Street for hosting us and having such a beautiful outdoor event together. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Wes. I've been in the industry or design space for the past 30-something years. And for the past 19 of those years, I've been at Supreme. And at Supreme, I wear many different hats, but primarily I'm responsible for the business of special projects. And what that means is any collaboration, partnership, project we do with artists, designers, brands, record labels, you name it, that typically comes through me or my office. In the 1990s, I co-founded a brand called PNB Nation, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And in the very early 2000s, started a design group / brand in Tokyo called Ansons, which we'll talk about just for a brief moment. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit, as George said, about my journey. I don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about myself, but I think in this context, it's important because A, you guys get to know me a little bit, and hopefully in our conversation, I'll get to know some of you a little better. But B, when George and I first discussed this talk today, something that came up is that the path to success and where you want to end up, where you want to be, there's no formula to it. There's no straight line to it. You know, it's not an A plus B equals C type of thing, even though you hear that a lot. People say, oh, you have to do this and this. But in reality, the path is not always straight. My particular path has been very wavy. And it really depends on all of you. My parents put me into this school called City Ad School. And the importance of City Ad School is that I learned two things. One, it was really meant to be a school for like failures and dropouts. But really what it was a school-based internship. So I got to work in a photo lab, in a graphics design firm, in French kitchens. I got to work in really amazing places, and each one of those things I wanted to be a chef. I immediately wanted to be a graphic designer. I immediately wanted to take photos. I saw for the first time that people could do something they love and make money at it. They could actually, come into work every day and cook food, or come into work every day and do graphics and get paid and go home. So this was my first kind of experience with the professional world, and I was intrigued by that. I also, I didn't have plans to go to college, but my brother kind of encouraged me, and I said, listen, I have an F average, I have a GED, no school is going to accept me. My brother gave me great advice, which was, don't focus on how many times you've been absent or your failures or what you did wrong. Show them your body of work, show them your passion, show them what you did create. How did you spend those 4 years? What did you do? And show them your portfolio. So I did that, and I ended up going to college. I'm from studying international studies and political science. 2 weeks after I graduated, we started a company called PNB. And this company, basically, we had no business sense, we had no idea what we were doing, but we basically printed t-shirts, sold them to shops literally out of like a trunk almost. Took orders, cash only, and started selling t-shirts, and eventually that business grew. And what was unique about PNB, and I'll get into this a little bit, is the members of PNB were Jewish, Korean, Puerto Rican, African American, Japanese, Chinese, Jamaican. We really represented a very diverse background. Each one of us brought different sensibilities to what we were doing. And we were committed to the idea of social and political messaging in our graphics. So we weren't just there was graffiti-inspired like graphics at the time. It wasn't called streetwear, but people would do just a tag on a shirt. And we wanted to kind of have a thinking person's approach to graphics, where you looked at something and went, what does that mean? And kind of, so as an example, here you see a civil rights march on the top and what became our main label. You see the iconic Black Power protest at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics becomes a t-shirt graphic. And so we were doing these things to make people look at them and look twice and go, damn, but, and kind of look into it. This, we all cook. We were all into cooking. We used to have cook-offs, and this speaks to community. It speaks to not just having a brand, but those around us. And we also, kind of like Public Enemy, you have Chuck D, who's like sending the hard messages, and then you have Flav, who's the like comic relief, right? So we had a lot of humor in what we did too. It was hard and soft at the same time. So this is a series of hang tags and shirts we did with each of us with recipes from steamed snapper, macaroni and cheese, Korean bulgogi, and family gumbo. This t-shirt, I think, personifies more than any kind of the mission or the head we were in. This t-shirt has a graphic that says, "Hello, my name is," which we as graffiti artists would steal from stationery stores, write our name on. So it'd say, "Hello, my name is West." We put it up, and that was a way of bombing. What we did is we took that same sticker, but put the name of 3 African-American people who were killed by police in New York at the time. So what we did is we flipped this idea of getting up, of like promoting of here's who I am, and put the name of 3 people who are victims of police brutality. And what that did is we saw t-shirts kind of like the way we saw subway cars. When you painted the train, it went from Brooklyn to Manhattan to the Bronx. And when we did graphics like this, we knew someone would wear it, and people would travel around the city, and hundreds of people would witness that t-shirt and go, "What does that mean? What is that about?" And we made intentionally, these graphics are very clear. They're not like, you don't have to be a graffiti artist to know what it says. We also had the fortune of being in the right place at the right time around some amazing people. We did art for Stretch Armstrong and Bobito show, 89 Tech 9, which is arguably the greatest hip-hop radio show of all time, at least one week. We did Clark Kent. Clark Kent recently passed away, so rest in peace, Clark. He had a DJ and MC battle for world supremacy, and we were able to do all of the gear that the people who were battling the war at that time. By the way, those battles were people bragged about those battles. So if you were the DJ battle for world supremacy winner or MC battle winner, you were considered the best in the world. This is a graphic that my partner Sung, who's here with us today, created for PNB, and basically it shows you where we took an image of Sidney Poitier from Raisin in the Sun, turned it into a silhouetted graphic. That graphic became the logo for Union on Spring Street in Manhattan, which was owned by James Jebbia, who became my future boss. And this is the LA Union shop. So you sort of see how an idea came into being, and then it's something we're all familiar with. We also were surrounded by, in this case, some people that were not quite as well known as they later became. Harold Hunter was already a big skater in New York City, but this is just before the Supreme Team and just before he kind of exploded into a little bit more notoriety. In the middle is Cause, who's down with FC, who I think we all know about Cause's aesthetic and his style, but he also is a fine painter and did this very realistic painting for P&B as a postcard. And then Mos Def, this is an ad from a Japanese magazine. This is before Mos Def released his first album and was still kind of up and coming. So these are the people who were in our circle at the time. And I just wanted you to know that throughout this process, the subway graffiti started in the 80s, but in the 90s, P&B still painted together. We still, to this day we do, but we kept this up and we did productions throughout. So this is my partner Brew and I. This is a mural we did for the film Clockers by Spike Lee.